really. I'm the founder of Thoughtful Leader, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about stress. Stress is horrible, isn't it? Well, no, not so fast. Sometimes stress can be a good thing. So obviously we know there's lots of negatives about stress at work. So you overworked, too much work, can't get anything done, working really long hours all the time, you're going to be heading for burnout, and your team will be heading for burnout too. So that's not a good thing. And that is what's known as distress. And distress happens when there's too much stress or stress for too long. But the good stress, which actually exists, is called eustress, which is spelled E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S. And eustress is a good form of stress because it can actually improve performance. So what you'll see here is a bell curve, and on this side of the curve you have the low stress levels. So in this zone here where your team aren't really very stressed, or you're not very stressed, you're likely to be lazy and a bit apathetic. You're like, well, what's the point? I can cruise at work. I'm not really stressed at all. I'm not under any pressure whatsoever. The second portion of the curve here, the middle, is the sweet spot, and that is where the eustress zone happens. That's where, as you can see, the performance goes way up. That's when you apply just the right amount of stress to yourself or your team to actually improve performance. So that might be in the form of setting a deadline, which is going to be hit within the next week or 2 weeks, or applying rewards or consequences for things that happen in your team, so you can increase those stress levels a little bit. You might set up regular meetings with your team so that they know you're monitoring progress. You can increase those stress levels and achieve that performance in the eustress zone in the middle. So that's your good stress. What happens if you keep doing that and increasing the pressure and stress, and pressure keeps going, you will notice it falls off a cliff at the end there, and where the performance really suffers, and that's where people are going to feel anxiety, overwork, and start to feel burnout. And that's when you have either too much stress for people to cope with, where the pressure is too much, or if the stress just continues for far too long, you'll get that drop in the performance. So these are good things to remember when you are trying to manage your team and trying to motivate them. I've worked in some environments where I've seen teams that are so unmotivated and lazy because no one has ever put any pressure on them. On the other side, I've seen many environments where people are under so much stress that their performance is terrible and they're extremely anxious, frustrated, and overworked. So what you want to do is hit the middle of the curve. And you do this by doing things like setting deadlines for your team, monitoring progress frequently, giving constructive feedback so that your team understands that you're looking at their progress and you want them to achieve. And those sorts of short-term milestones and checkpoints can be really useful for increasing the stress levels. That's the trick here. You don't want to overdo it because they'll fall off the performance curve at the end there. So that's just a little bit about eustress and the difference between eustress and bad stress, which is distress. Make sure you keep that in mind when you're managing your team. You don't want your team to get too lazy, and you don't want them falling off the performance cliff on the other end either. You want to get it just right. Below the video, I will leave a link to an article that describes this in more detail that you can have a look at. Thank you for watching. I'd encourage you to subscribe to this channel so you can get videos like this every week. I will see you in the next one, which will be next week.